This is the Leitmotif and Movement Podcast, a father and son's journey into the vast worlds of music. I'm your host, Mike Ficklin, and joining me on this epic musical journey is my son,
Michael Ficklin.
This show is dedicated to the discussion of music and introducing Michael to music from the past and present. We'll mainly be discussing the genres of rock, hard rock, and heavy metal. We will also from time to time dive into film and video game scores, and we'll sprinkle in some surprises along the way. Michael, what have you been listening to this week?
Course assignments. And also listen to the Finch record. What It Is to Burn.
Been enjoying that one again?
Yep.
What is it about that record that keeps you coming back?
I think it's just really... I don't really know. I just like it.
It's got good hooks, right?
Yeah.
Just makes you want to keep coming back to it. It's like talking to a friend.
Also listen to 36 Crazy Fist, Snowcap
Romance.
Yeah,
it's good record.
That's really it.
Yeah, for me, I finished up my journey through the Amorphous catalog. I listened to their last record, Halo, or their most recent record, Halo. It's more stripped down in sound than their previous records. However, it does still bring the heavy moments. A really enjoyable entry in the Amorphous catalog. I really enjoyed my journey through the entire catalog. They're immensely talented. Very much enjoy their brand of prog metal. I think you'd like them too, Michael.
I'll give them a shot.
You absolutely should. The next record I listened to was the new record from Jerry Cantrell titled I Want Blood. For those that don't know, Jerry Cantrell is the guitarist from Alice in Chains, and this is his latest solo record. I believe it's his fourth record. I love Jerry's vocals and his guitar work. This gives me that Alice in Chains fix. It's heavier and darker in tone in sound than in his last solo record. Features a good blending of grunge and metal. It's a really solid release, and it it does leave me wanting new Alice in Chains though. I don't know what the delay is, but come on, guys, need some new Alice in Chains. I also listened to the new album from Swallow the Sun. It's called Shining, and it's an interesting turn in the ongoing saga of Swallow the Sun. They continue to get further away from their original doom death sound. This album features some shorter and far more radio-friendly sounding songs. I appreciate their willingness to expand their sound. Their sound seems more polished and leaning in almost a straight-up goth direction on this record. I enjoyed my time with the record, and looking forward to revisiting it at some point. The next album I listened to the Pronoia sessions from Atreyu. I really don't have a whole lot to say on this. It features some reworkings of some of their older material, plus a few cover songs. It's definitely not my favorite thing they've ever done, but, you know, I guess I kind of prefer the original versions of these songs. The one song that I did like, and it stood out for me, was their extremely faithful cover of Like a Stone, originally done by Audioslave, but outside of that, I kind of felt like it was pretty unremarkable. I also listened to the new record from Better Lovers titled Highly Irresponsible. So, what happens when you combine the core of Every Time I Die with Greg Puciato from Dillinger Escape Plan? You get pure hardcore punk magic. These guys are a match made in heaven,
description.
Man. Just featuring crushing guitar riffs, thundering drums. It's an outstanding full-length effort. My only issue with it was it's too short. for the full album, it clocks in at just 35 minutes, and it definitely left me wanting more.
How many songs are on it?
What's that?
I said, how many songs are on it?
I think there's 10 total songs on it. Let's take a look.
It must be really short.
Yeah, it's only 35 minutes. It's a really quick listen. Yeah, 10 songs total. It's just...
How short are the songs?
Well, with these hardcore punk songs, some of them average like 2.5 minutes, no longer than 3 minutes, typically on average. Another record I listened to this week was the new record from Devin Townsend titled Power Nerd. What a journey, man. Very deeply personal and emotional. Far less experimental and proggy than some of Devin's other releases. Much more of a straightforward rocker, kind of a throwback in a way to like classic 80s rock and roll records. The version of the record that I listened to came with a commentary where after you listened to the record, the commentary picks up and it's Devin explaining what the inspiration for the record was and kind of breaking down on a track-by-track basis. It was really interesting, and it gave a perspective to the music. It's heart-wrenching, some of the stuff that happens in it. I was not prepared for this to get me in the feelings as much as it did. This record definitely gets my highest recommendation. The last thing I listened to was a single from a new band. This single is called A Fever to Defeat. The band is called Paradise Slaves. This is the debut single from the quote-unquote supergroup comprised of former members of 36 Crazy Fists and Diecast. It was written during the height of the COVID pandemic. It's emotional and hard-hitting. I love hearing Brock Lindau from 36 Crazy Fists vocals again. I mean, I can't wait for this full album in 2025. If it sounds anything like this, it's going to be freaking amazing.
I'm looking forward to it too.
Yeah, so I turned you on to the song a few days ago. What did you think of it?
I liked it. It really brings. I'm just happy Brock's back in a band.
He's got a really unique vocal delivery.
Yeah,
his vocals are instantly identifiable among others.
Especially with his clean vocals.
For sure.
On some of the 36 Crazy Fists albums.
Awesome stuff to see him back doing it again. All right. Michael, anything else that you've been listening to?
Nope.
All right. So we will move on to our next segment. This is the Art of Discovery, wherein we listen to a few songs from a few outstanding independent artists out there. Our first entry for the Art of Discovery this time around is from a band called Against I, and this is a song called A Hymn for the End.
Before the shock came, no one could ever react.
And once again, that was Against I with their new single, A Hymn for the End. They are a melodic death metal band from Sweden. Did you like that one, Michael?
Can I just start out with what a headbanger that is?
Outstanding song,
yeah, I
right?
did. Yeah, I did like it.
All right, and our next song is from a band called Glvsscvge. This is their newest single titled Obscene.
Two people were killed, 8 of them wounded in a shooting in a city with Russian rocket attack. So at least 13,000 Palestinians have been killed in the territory since the conflict began.
They are terrorists, and this follows another 95.
More than 50,000 Russian fighters killed in
Now we know that they have the lowest death toll in Gaza. 9,500 women and 14,500 children. Most of these are populated
and confirmation that the Syrian conflict war has turned.
They are terrorists.
Civilian casualties are a cost of war.
Genocide of war is obscene. The concept genocide on my screen. As we lose the genocide, we will never be free.
Civilian casualties are a cost of war. War.
Genocide
And once again, that was Glvsscvge with their newest track, Obscene. They're a metal band out of South London, UK. What'd you think of that one, Michael?
It was definitely different. But I liked it.
Yeah, the breakdown towards the end of the song is freaking great, man. All right, and moving on to our final song featured in this episode's Art of Discovery. This is Galaxy Parade with their song I'll Always Be Around from their EP I'll Always Be Around. And once again, that was Galaxy Parade with their song I'll Always Be Around from their EP titled I'll Always Be Around. And they are a melodic alt-rock band from Houston, Texas. Michael, what'd you think of these guys?
I like them.
Good stuff, right?
Yeah.
I get a bit of Blue Album era Weezer vibes from these guys. Awesome stuff. Kind of like a poppier rock band. I enjoyed it thoroughly. This entire EP is really good.
Seems enjoyable. I may have to take a listen to it.
Definitely check it out. You'll have to let us know what you think on the next episode. All right, so we would like to thank Against I, Glvsscvge, and Galaxy Parade for allowing us to play a song from each of them on this week's episode. And if you would like to have your band featured on a future episode, please feel free to reach out to us. We would love to take a listen and give you a shout out on the show. Michael, you got anything else on this?
Other than thank you to all the bands that allowed us to play their music on the show.
Outstanding. All right. So before we get into our main topic of this episode, we do want to provide a quick disclaimer. The record, film, and graphic novel we will be discussing does include topics of drug abuse, sex, rape, and murder, so parental discretion is advised. All right, and now jumping into our main topic of the episode, we are going to break down the soundtrack to the 1994 film The Crow. And joining us for this discussion is Zach McCrary of the Comics That We Love podcast. Welcome to the show, Zach.
Hey, thanks for having me, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here.
We appreciate you coming on. Let me ask you real quick, what's your experience with the Crow comic book and the film?
Oh man, what I have the Crow film is my favorite movie of all time. I say that unabashedly. I don't care what anybody says. It is my favorite movie of all time. I can watch it several times a year. I can quote it. I am the annoying guy that says the thing before it's said. And I just fell in love with that film as an angsty teen, and it never went away. You know what I mean? Like I love that movie so much, and the soundtrack was a big part of it because it was the music of my youth, and it was used so beautifully in this amazing film it just adds to something that is already great. And so it wasn't really until I was probably in my later teens that I actually picked up the comic books for the first time and started checking out James O'Barr's work, and immediately fell in love with that as well. And so I am just an all-around Crow guy. And anything with the Crow except for the atrocious films that followed the original movie, I'm on board for. City of Angels is okay, but don't even talk to me about the rest of them.
I almost give a half of a pass to Salvation, because I thought Salvation had an interesting premise.
I'll give it that, but the delivery was so milquetoast, and
it really was.
Oh, isn't there one of the songs is called Milquetoast here?
Irony.
But yeah, I love The Crow, everything The Crow, and this soundtrack is one of the soundtracks of my youth. When I listened to this, it took me back, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I have a very similar experience with The Crow. I started out with seeing the movie for the first time. One of my mom's friends had it on VHS, and she's like, I think you'd really like this, Michael, knowing how much you like superhero stuff. And so I borrowed it and watched it for the first time, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I think I watched it like 6 or 7 times before I gave it back to her. And I didn't realize that it was based on a comic book until much later, and ended up picking up a copy of the comic book and absolutely fell in love with the comic book too. In fact, I almost feel like I enjoy the comic book more than I like the film, which I know for some is probably blasphemy, but
I love them equally. You can't make me choose my favorite. It's like with kids, I won't choose a favorite.
So there for a while, I was a part of one of the bigger Crow communities online. I was in a place called the Crow Chamber Room for a long time. And I actually had an opportunity a time or two to ask some questions to James O'Barr, and kind of opened my mind to some of the things that I had questions about from the comic book, which was really cool. So
too cool.
Yeah.
That's too cool.
Yeah.
I want to talk to him about the horse and the barbed wire.
That's a tough sequence, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is.
I think once you kind of understand that the whole idea of the book is kind of nihilistic, it's that the sequence kind of makes more sense.
Yeah, I mean when you learn the story of how the Crow was created, like how James O'Barr came to it with just this overwhelming guilt about the death of his girlfriend, the whole Eric Shelley thing is pulled kinda from him. You know what I mean? And except he is kind of both Eric Draven and the people Eric is killing because he felt guilty for her death.
Yeah,
And it's fascinating.
totally. Michael, I know you don't know this about The Crow, but James O'Barr, what drove him to create The Crow was that his girlfriend or fiance, I'm trying to remember which, I think it was fiance, she had gotten struck by a drunk driver and killed. And he felt this tremendous sense of guilt, and it led him to trying to find a way to relieve himself of those feelings, and he created the Crow comic book, which I know you haven't read yet. We need to get you to read that one now that you've seen the film.
It's good stuff.
It is good stuff. He actually just watched the film for the first time this evening, shortly before we decided to record this. So,
oh, that's awesome. I hope you didn't hate it because that would make me real sad.
Michael, what do you think of the film?
I liked it. I feel like it was very eventful.
Absolutely.
All right, so a little bit of background on the Crow soundtrack. Again, this was done for the 1994 Crow film, not to be confused with the more recent Crow film, which, according to our good friend Zach, was a steaming pile of monkey doo.
Oh yeah, real garbage fire.
The Crow soundtrack was released on March 29th, 1994, through Atlantic Records, and it features just a whole host of top-notch talent. Bands like The Cure, Stone Temple Pilots, Nine Inch Nails, Rage Against the Machine, Pantera, just massive names. One could almost say that this was the soundtrack that started out the whole movement to having these massive soundtracks with big bands. Would you agree with that?
100%. Yeah, it is. It's like the reason this is so iconic is because of that. Like it changed the way soundtracks were done. Like it was the first time also that anyone was like, we want all original music. Like we don't want anything that's popular on the radio right now. It's got to be new songs for the movie or covers of songs for the movie, because we don't want you to leave the film and think about the top of the charts, you know? And so it changed the way soundtracks were done completely.
Yeah, completely agree. I was sitting back thinking about that, and I almost wanted to point at the soundtrack to the 1986 Transformers the movie, because it had a huge rock and roll soundtrack.
You got the touch.
Yeah. That's another one of my favorite film soundtracks ever. But I just looking at the artist by comparison between the two, there's no comparison. This Crow soundtrack is just loaded.
Yeah, it's stacked, and some of the artists weren't big at the time. Like they were just about to hit, you know?
And with this being the height of grunge, or this having been done at the height of grunge, I'm really surprised that there was no grunge artists featured on this. Really, no Alice in Chains, no Soundgarden, or even Nirvana. I like one of Nirvana's acoustic songs probably would have fit this perfectly.
Ooh, yeah, absolutely. Or I could see Heart Shaped Box. Was that out yet? But Heart Shaped Box would fit really well on a soundtrack like this.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure In Utero came out in 1994. So yeah, it probably would have been, if it hadn't been out yet. It was getting pretty close.
Yeah.
So anyway, this soundtrack ended up peaking at the top of the Billboard 200 albums chart. The album sold 3.8 million copies in the United States and has been certified 3 times platinum by the RIAA. That's crazy stuff for a soundtrack.
Heck yeah.
3 times?
3 times
3
platinum,
times.
man. Crazy stuff. Zach, do you have anything that you'd like to say on a broad overview about the soundtrack before we start diving in track by track here?
Overall, the reason that I think that this soundtrack has lasted and is so important to so many people, I mean, obviously, it's the connection with Brandon Lee and that tragedy, but the fact that the film is so beloved, all of those things are like a swirling miasma. Like it's all interconnected. But what I think really is important about this soundtrack is that it captures the essence of the film, and a lot of soundtracks don't do that well. Even stuff that tried to follow this like a paint by numbers of this, they don't do it as well as this soundtrack does. And I think that's what's important. Like it actually added to the film.
Totally. It adds to the atmosphere and the ambiance of the film completely. So I think that's actually a really good segue into the opening track on the soundtrack, which is from The Cure. This the song is called Burn. Zach, I will let you go ahead and get started with your thoughts on this track.
I don't like The Cure, but I absolutely love this song. This is a banger.
Blasphemy. No.
I just never they never clicked with me, but this song, man, it bumps. And can I share a fun fact about
Absolutely.
this song? So James O'Barr quotes Cure lyrics in the Crow comics, and
Yes, he does.
and it's done without their permission. But he wrote with permission in the comic. And so when the producer of this, Jeff Most, when he talked to James O'Barr and he was like, you know that Robert Smith has never heard of you, but you wrote that it was okay. And he said, yeah, I saw that done in other comics, so I just did it. Like he just wrote with permission from the Cure, but Robert Smith had never heard of the Crow when they approached him to do a song for this song.
That's amazing. He also quotes Joy Division quite a bit.
Yes. Yeah. Those were like his bands, and like in the edition of the comic that I have, he says that like those are the bands that got him through that hard time in his life.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I love this song. It's so good, and it's perfect for this movie. I mean, they literally sent him the Robert Smith the film so he could make a song for it, and it's just mwah, beautiful.
Chef's kiss.
Yes.
So yeah, well, I guess before I get into my thoughts, Michael, what do you think of this song? And do you remember where it plays in the film?
I do not know where it plays in the film.
So if you recall, it plays during the sequence where Eric is painting his face up.
Oh. I think this is one of my favorite songs on the soundtrack.
Kind of gothy and moody, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I concur. And it's those drums, man. The drums in that song.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, like I love this song. It's definitely one of my favorites from the soundtrack. It lives rent free in my head all the time. I love the references even back to the graphic novel with stuff like the whispers of "Don't Look," which don't appear in the film. And to me, that's one of the big things about the comic book. It's the whole reason why Eric can't rest, because the spiritual manifestation of the Crow, which has appeared to him as he's dying, is telling him not to watch Shelley get raped and murdered, and he can't take his eyes off of it. And that's what leads him to not being able to rest. So you obviously don't get any of that out of the film, but I thought it was an awesome reference for Robert Smith to work in "Don't Look" into the song. And I know O'Barr was listening to a lot of new wave when writing The Crow, and The Cure was one of his major influences, like you had mentioned. So yeah, this song is awesome. When it plays during the film, it's pitch perfect.
Absolutely. And kudos to Robert Smith too, because consider being this big artist who finds out that someone used your stuff without permission, and then you read their stuff and you're like, it's cool. This is really good. And
it's that reciprocal influence.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on Burn?
Other than it just fits very well in the film.
100%.
It feels like it adds to the scene.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine that makeup scene without that song. just the whole build up to the point where Eric punches the mirror, and it bursts into the song in full blast. It just
Yeah,
Great.
because this song is the gateway that is the moment where he finally realizes why he's there, and the anger takes over.
Yeah, or even the insanity, if you want to look at it that way.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, so moving on to the next track. This one is from a band called Machines of Loving Grace. The song is called Golgotha Tenement Blues. Zach, I'll let you get us started with this one.
This song has just such a cool like alt swagger to it. Like it's got a swagger. You know what I mean? Like I could walk into a room really cool to this song. And but it's also kind of like foreboding. Like this is a song that's like someone super cool walking into a bar, which in a way was like that's kind of how it was used in the movie too. You know what I mean? Like it's like, uh-oh, here comes that guy. Don't mess with him.
That's absolutely right. It is so moody. Michael, what do you think of this song?
But before I give my thoughts, where is this song placed in the film?
So this song is the one that is playing when Eric walks in on Funboy and Darla in the bed.
Oh. So the instruments and just the music part of the song is very good.
Yeah, it's just it's such it just got this moody gothic feel to it. When I hear the song, it puts me right into that scene. I love how this kind of does this slow burn build to the point where Eric reveals himself to Funboy. Just a really great song.
It really is. It's hard to not like turn into a film podcast because the music does like fit so well and is so important to the movie that it's hard to not just talk about the scenes from the movie and how cool they were.
You can't not talk about this music without talking about the sequences. This does actually lead me to one of those things about the comic book that I kind of wish that things with Funboy played out in the film more like they did in the comic book, because I think that whole thing with Funboy in the comic book is so important, because in the comic book, Eric kind of lets Funboy off in a far easier way than he does anybody else.
True.
And
That's true.
I asked a question of James O'Barr about this once upon a time. And James's response was essentially that Eric realized that there was nothing worse that he could do to Funboy than the crimes that Funboy was already doing to himself.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of the conversation that they have in the comic. Like Funboy knows who he is and he accepts that. And Eric realizes that when they're talking.
Totally. And the fact that he basically lets Funboy off himself by overdosing on morphine, which is basically what Eric does to him in the film, only it's Eric that's forcing it on him rather than Funboy doing it to himself. But that's just one of those things that I think the comic book just does slightly better than the film. But still, the song.
Yes,
100%.
Great song.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on this one?
Nope.
All right, so we'll move right along to track 3. This is Stone Temple Pilots with their song Big Empty. Zach, go ahead.
I'm a huge Stone Temple Pilots fan. I love Scott Weiland's voice. The DeLeo brothers, like their guitar and bass defined a lot of my teens and like the music that I loved. And Big Empty is it's such this great melancholic track and just fits so perfectly into the vibe of this film. Another fun fact, though, it wasn't the original Stone Temple Pilots song that was supposed to be on the soundtrack.
I did.
You knew this one? Yeah. Only Dying was the song. But apparently they took it off because of Brandon Lee's death because they thought that would be kind of disrespectful. But I think that it made the soundtrack better.
I completely agree with you. I can't remember if Purple was out yet when the Crow came out, but
It was on the verge.
okay.
Yeah.
So I know that's Big Empty was also featured there. Real quick before I get into my thoughts, Michael, what did you think of this song? And I'll place the song for you because you don't really get to hear very much of it. It plays in T-Bird's car right after they blow up arcade games at the beginning of the movie.
Fire it up.
Yes, exactly.
I'm pretty sure I liked this song. And also, it really fits the scene very well.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite STP songs anyway, and easily lands as one of my favorite songs on the soundtrack.
Same.
Lyrically, to me, it doesn't really fit the film very well, but knowing the fact that the band was originally going to contribute a different song entirely, it kind of I can let it go that the fact that the lyrics don't really fit the film. But I love Big Empty. It's among my absolute favorites from STP. Another one of those things that lives rent free in my head all the time.
Yeah, I love the original, and I also really love their unplugged version that they
Oh,
did
yeah.
for MTV Unplugged. That was a solid
Yeah,
track.
absolutely. And of course, who doesn't love Interstate Love Song? So,
Ooh, heck yeah. That's a karaoke favorite of mine.
I've never sung that one for karaoke, but you've just given me a fantastic idea now. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Anything else to say about Big Empty?
Nope.
It's unfortunately not used very strongly in the film. It kind of gets done a disservice, I think, but that's me.
Yeah, I think it feels like they had to do the switch. They wanted to honor the use of a Stone Temple Pilots song, and they just made it fit somewhere so that STP could still be part of it.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah, that's true. So moving on to track number 4, we've got Nine Inch Nails with their cover of a Joy Division song called Dead Souls. Zach, I'll let you get into this one.
This one, like this song, I never knew was a Joy Division song until, because I never really was into Joy Division. I didn't really know anything about them until like maybe 5 years ago. Like, so my entire life, I thought this was just a Nine Inch Nails song. And then like something happened and I went down a Joy Division rabbit hole and just got a new respect for them as a band. And then that's when it clicked for me. And then like I put it all together with The Crow. And now like this song it's an amazing song. I love both versions. The Joy Division version is really haunting because like of everything that Ian Curtis was going through, and you hear it in the song, and but the Nine Inch Nails version just takes that moodiness and adds that 90s angst, and that's totally my brand. So I love this version of the song. And Trent Reznor specifically requested this one. Like they told him they wanted him to do a Joy Division song, and he said the only way I'm going to do the soundtrack is if you let me do this one. And they were like, cool, go ahead.
That's amazing. I've not heard that story before. That's awesome.
Yeah, apparently he's like the producer for this whole soundtrack says that this doesn't happen if Reznor doesn't sign on, because they went to him first, because they were like, where Trent goes, other people will follow, and they convinced him to do it, and they were right.
That's amazing. What a great story.
Yeah,
Michael, what?
I'm full of weird facts.
That's exactly what this show is all about. Michael, what do you think of this song?
Can I get
The context? Yeah. So this song is playing in one of my favorite parts of the film. It's where Eric is running over the rooftops when he's hunting his first victim in Tintin.
Oh, yeah. I like the song where it's placed, and also I think it's my second favorite song on the soundtrack.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's so I love the Nine Inch Nails anyway, and this
Mhm.
is just another personal favorite of mine from the soundtrack. Um, I know, again, mentioning that Obar was a big fan of Joy Division, and I had heard
Mhm.
previously that Trent Reznor was also a big Joy Division fan, but I didn't know the actual story was that he told them that he wasn't going to do it unless he could do this particular song. So that's awesome.
Yeah, he was like, I get to pick the song. Like, cool.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
yeah, this is just another great mood setting song. It plays during that scene where Eric's jumping over the rooftops. It's got that heavy industrial thing that Nine Inch Nails was known for at the time. I you can't go wrong with Nine Inch Nails at this point in time. Circa, you know, Pretty Hate Machine and The Downward
Mhm.
Spiral. Both of those records are amazing pieces of work.
Definitely. Yeah, I love the bass line in this
Yeah,
song. That's like what really hits it for me.
yeah, I completely agree.
Really, really drives it.
Anything else to say on this song?
Nope.
All right, so we're moving right along to track number 5. It's Rage Against the Machine with Darkness. Zach, I'll let you take this one away.
I love Rage Against the Machine. But if I'm being honest, this is for me the only song that doesn't fit.
One of
Like
these
I
things is not
like the
like the
song.
other.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's totally like I like this song. I do. But that heavy kind of groovy vibe that Rage has, it feels apart from everything else on this soundtrack and apart from the vibe of the film as well. I like the song a lot, but it's weird to me that it's on the soundtrack. I think it's on the soundtrack because Rage was hot and new and yeah. But it's a good song.
You and I are on the same wavelength on this one.
Yeah.
Michael, I'm going to let you give your thoughts before I get into mine.
Context.
So there's not really a lot of context to give for this. I think if I remember right, this is playing in the background of one of the bar scenes. It doesn't get a lot of heavy playtime.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, I couldn't even place it
for
actually.
further context, Michael, Rage Against the Machine is the band that's got the vocalist that's more does his stuff more in a hip hop style.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, if you and I'll catch flack for this, but if you've heard one Rage Against the Machine song, you've kind of heard them all, and so like they all kind of,
Yeah,
you know,
especially as far in the way of delivery. I do
yeah,
think they do musically they do some interesting stuff and they change things up
yes,
musically, but as far as Zach De La Roca's vocal delivery, you're very much correct. You've heard it once, you've heard it all. Uh
yeah,
and I agree with you. This is just a really weird choice for this film. I do like Rage, but I find that Zach singing about white colonization of Africa to be a weird pull for this
yeah,
film.
What did I just hear?
So that's kind of Rage Against the Machines thing, Michael. We have not yet gotten into them on for the show, but we will definitely get into them at some point. But they are very much a political band,
yeah,
That makes
100%.
sense.
and this song is a cover. But the song is basically about white colonization of Africa, and I just such a weird pull for this. It doesn't fit. I completely agree, Zach.
Really, no.
And it's even just an okay song by Rage Against the Machine standards. To me personally, they've done way better stuff.
Oh, they've got some phenomenal tracks. Yeah, this would definitely be like an album filler
Completely.
for them.
This would be one of those songs for Michael that would cause him to dock a half a point on his overall rating. Michael, did you ever think of anything to say about this?
No.
That's fair.
Fair enough.
Honestly,
I mean,
honestly,
filler.
Fair enough. I agree with your sentiment also, Zach. I do think that they were pulled into this because they were the hot new thing at the time, but this song just doesn't fit. All right, so moving on to a track that does fit better. Track 6, this is Violent Femmes with Color Me Once. Go ahead and take it away, Zach.
Yeah, I forgot that this song was on the soundtrack until I went back and listened again. And I've never really dabbled in the Violent Femmes, but I think I'm going to now. Like, I think I'm finally ready. Like, my body and spirit are ready to check out the catalog of the Violent Femmes because this song is amazing. Lyrically, it fits with what's going on in the story. Like some of the lyrics I pulled is like patience like a man and a wife. I got patience on my neck like a cold, cold knife. And like you got to help my body heal my soul. Dead men working, a sinner, a saint, mixing up a pail of paint, paint the house black as night. When the sun came up, the house was white. And when I heard that, I was immediately like, it's like Eric, who is this dark figure filled with black, bleak thoughts and feelings. And once it's all over and he's avenged Shelley, he sees her again and he can be free.
Yes.
Like he painted his house black at night, and when it was over, it was white. And I was like, this song is perfect for this soundtrack. And then I was sold. I was like, well, now I have to listen to all of these guys.
Successfully washed his hands.
Yeah. Yeah. So 2 thumbs up. I really like this song.
Michael, how about you? For context, this is another one of those songs that doesn't get a lot of it's not pushed into the fore. This song gets played in the bar when Sarah's getting a root beer from the bartender while her mom goes upstairs with Fun Boy. It's not very prevalent.
I'm trying not to think.
That scene and really all the stuff with Sarah and Darla are heart crushing, just heart crushing.
Oh yeah.
Especially with my background. I know not everybody has the same experience, right? But I had a wonderful childhood. My parents were great to me, and I had a very loving childhood. So like I can't imagine the crushing feeling that a parent just doesn't give a crap about you or where you are or what you're doing. That stuff hurts, and I know that you can see it written on Sarah's face despite the fact that she's kind of flippant about it.
Yeah, she's she's got that tough exterior because she's hiding a lot of pain.
Right. And for the longest time before I owned the soundtrack, I actually thought this was Nirvana because I think the Violent Femme singer Gordon Gano, I think's his name, his delivery on this song sounds so much like Kurt Cobain. I think
I can hear that. Yeah, I can totally see that.
it does set an appropriate mood for the scene in which it appears in it, and certainly lyrically it fits the film very well. I like this song. It's a solid tune. Michael, did you ever come up with anything?
I will have to agree with you on what you guys went off on the film. And I think I'm gonna have to say that I'm gonna have to agree with you guys on the music wise and it fitting in.
All right. Anything else on this one?
Nope.
All right. Moving on to track 7. This is Rollins Band with Ghost Rider. Zach, I'll let you take this one.
Just give me everything Henry Rollins. I don't care. It's spoken words, novels, acting, Rollins Band, Black Flag. I freaking love Henry Rollins. I actually got to meet him in college. He was a very nice guy, super brilliant, and like just so down to earth. And it just made me love him even more. Like I'm not a huge fan of the band Suicide, which is it's a cover song from the band Suicide, and I respect their place in the history of like industrial rock and like post-punk and stuff, but it's not really my thing. But man, you give me that like bluesy rendition from Rollins Band and it does it for me. And it is the whole song completely about a different superhero, Ghost Rider. Yes, but but it's got the swagger, again, that word swagger. It's got the swagger, and they used it at least in a motorcycle scene in the movie. So, it works.
Absolutely. Michael?
Context.
Ah, man.
Motorcycle scene. It's like bow down down bow down.
Yep.
It's got that cool kind of drony bluesy thing going on.
So Michael, as like Zach mentioned, this is a cover song from a band called Suicide, and it is about uh, the Marvel supernatural
Mhm.
superhero Ghost Rider, which fits perfectly with the film. Do you know who Ghost Rider is? Have you ever
Yes.
seen? Okay, just want to make sure. Um, definitely seems appropriate given Eric's role as the supernatural hero in this film.
Yeah.
And it does have that blues rock bent, which it again stands out amongst the rest of the soundtrack, right? There's nothing else on the
For
soundtrack
sure.
that sounds like this.
Hmm.
Kind of in a way reminds me of a song that maybe the Doors might have done once upon a time.
Oh yeah, Henry Rollins, like Rollins band on so many of their songs gives me like a Doors Jim Morrison
Yeah.
vibe. Absolutely.
Michael, did you ever think of anything on this?
Uh, I would have more to say if I could pinpoint the scene.
It's not really used
Yeah.
in one of those pronounced ways, unfortunately.
Hmm.
It's one of those things you would have to remember from listening to the soundtrack. All right. We will move right along then to track 8. This is Helmet with the song Milk Toast, which interestingly is not spelled the same way apparently that it is on one of their albums. I guess I'm not a particularly
Oh,
big Helmet fan, but apparently they spell it differently on their record.
Hmm.
Zach, go ahead and take that.
I mean, I'm not a super like Helmet guy either, but when I hear anything from them, it like it's one of those bands that like transports me back because this song is like everything that was early 90s alternative rock.
Hmm.
There's like dirty guitars and kind of funky filtered vocals and like no solos, just crunching guitars and slamming drums. So it's good stuff.
Doesn't ride too high, doesn't ride too low. It's yeah,
Yeah. It's just kind of right in the middle
yep,
for me.
exactly.
Mm.
Michael,
Is there?
this is playing in the background when Grange goes to speak with Gideon at the bar, telling him that he's got a meeting with Top Dollar. So again, it's one of those songs that's just playing in the background.
Um, from the description you gave, Zach, uh, I remembered the song. A light bulb went off in my head, and I like this song on the album, soundtrack.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the boat that like it's not my favorite song on the record, but lyrically it fits the scene that it's featured in.
Hmm.
It's okay. It's just right there in the middle. It's,
It's milk
yeah,
toast.
exactly. And I don't know why, but when I hear milk toast, I think of the Ren and Stimpy character, Powder
Powder
Toast
Toast
Man.
Man.
Yes.
I've got a Spider-Man crossover with him. It's pretty
Oh, that's
good.
awesome. All right, so we'll move on from that one. Not really much to say about that one, and we'll get into track 9, which is from Pantera. This is called "The Badge." Zach, take it away.
I lived off Pantera for like a whole summer when I first found Cowboys from Hell, and like the dynamic of the band, it was just like lightning in a bottle, like no frills, all kills metal, and it's such a shame I'll never get to see them like have a reunion or anything because they were a bucket list band that I never got. I saw Down a couple times, but it's only like that's half the band. You know what I
Right.
mean? You don't get Vinny or Dime, and that sucks. But you know, this song I think fits the soundtrack pretty well, but it's like I had to really like find its place, and I think like like Top Dollar and the gang that rule the city, they rule the city to like a point where the cops are just sort of beaten down and reacting rather than being proactive to stop anything, and like the anger in this song it feels to me like what the civilians, like citizens, are probably feeling towards the police, and also probably how the police feel about themselves a little
Yep.
bit, like helpless and angry, and at least the ones who aren't being paid by Top Dollar, because it seems like there's a lot of that going on. But I mean, it's Pantera. so I'm gonna love it regardless. And but I had to kind of shoehorn a reason for it to be there, but I still think it's a great song. I love the badge. I used to play the crap out of it in Guitar Hero.
I didn't realize it was on Guitar Hero.
Yeah, I had a friend who, this is a dumb story. I don't know why I'm telling it, but he literally memorized it on the hardest level, and he would turn his back away from the TV and do it. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. It's like just learn it on real guitar. Like at this point,
it's like Eddie Van Halen and early Van Halen with turning his back to the audience while he was finger tapping. Michael, what'd you think of this song?
Can I have a context?
Yeah, they're playing it when Top Dollar kills Gideon, which you and I had a chuckle about earlier.
oh, Gideon. He's like the dude that plays Gideon is like that dollar store Danny DeVito
Yes.
from like that era of movies.
Yes.
But I always like when he shows up.
He's like his arrogance and the level of disrespect that he shows to Top Dollar, like it's no wonder he's done for.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like he's done for from the moment he opens his mouth. So
oh yeah. Yeah,
Gets
he doesn't
stabbed
give an inch.
through the throat. Why aren't you?
Yeah. So again, Michael, that's where it's featured at during that scene.
Just for the scene alone, I have to place it high. It'd probably go in my 4th place if we're doing like a top 5 for the album.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Well, that leads me to think that you're gonna love Pantera when we get into some full Pantera records.
Oh,
go ahead.
I also like the instrumental.
Dude, yes.
I mean, yeah, all the people in that band, amazing musicians.
Yeah, just to take a pause real quick, Dime's guitar work on this song is just like with really anything from the Pantera library is outstanding. His guitar work is instantly recognizable when you hear it. He and Vinny are always on the same page and they always bring it. This is
totally. And Vinnie Paul's drums, it was just like all of his drum work was just so hard and smashing.
Yes.
Like I used to have a set of the drumsticks that he used because I used to be a drummer and like I loved his sticks because they didn't have like the small end. It was just 2 sticks, like and like I loved that because he just wanted the hardest, nastiest sound that he could get.
He wanted to bludgeon the drums.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love Pantera. I love the song. It fits really well with the scene that it's in. It doesn't feature like the usual blistering Dime solo, but man, just it still has that Pantera sound. It just goes hard as hell. I love this song.
Yeah, totally.
All right, moving on to track 10. It's For Love Not Lisa with their song Slip Slide Melting. Zach, go ahead and take it away.
This is another one that for me felt just like so alternative from the 90s, like to the core. It's not my favorite song on the soundtrack, but like I appreciate it, and lyrically it totally fits Eric Draven's mindset. Like definitely a song where someone is lamenting a lost love and trying to get past it or getting wrapped up in it. And like I grabbed a lyric. It says, "Lord, I would die for you.
Yes.
Take this heart away, find some space in the sunshine." And it's like, yeah, that's totally where Eric is.
You are absolutely correct. That's the same lyric that I pulled as well. Yeah. Michael, your thoughts?
You already know what I'm about to ask.
So this is playing in the background towards the beginning of the movie when T-Bird's gang is celebrating at the bar and they're taking turns swallowing bullets.
Oh.
Here's the devil's night. It is my favorite holiday.
Uh,
You Tintin.
Fire it
Yes.
up. Fire it up.
Yes, I will have to go in and bleep that out, but it was worth it. So
it's worth it.
anyway, Michael, what do you think about that song?
um, I think it fits well with the scene.
Fits well with the movie in general.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like there's like a similar pathway with most of the songs on the soundtrack. It's like fitting very well. It's like
They did a good job selecting
yeah.
the songs, or
Mhm.
even for the original songs, the each of these artists just nailed the lyrics
Mhm.
on a lot of these songs.
Agreed.
Yeah, this is just a solid rocker. I absolutely love this song. I absolutely love the lyrics, specifically the ones you pointed out, Zach. Really feels like it's articulating Eric's feelings about Shelley, especially the stuff with "I Would Die for You." Just an absolutely excellent song, and obviously a memorable scene in which it takes place in. All right. Moving on to track 11. This is My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult. What a band name.
Right.
With their song After the Flesh. Go ahead, Zach.
If I'm being honest, this is probably my least favorite
Really?
song on the soundtrack.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not a huge industrial
Okay.
guy. I love me some like KMFDM and Ministry, but I don't go too far beyond that. And so I really don't have a ton to say about this song, honestly, other than it was a good fit for like the nasty rock club scene in the movie. It was a good fit for where it was. Not a song that I am a huge fan of, though.
Okay.
But not every pony grows up to be a
No,
Pegasus.
you're absolutely right.
So,
Yeah. And to point out, this is one of the two bands that from the soundtrack that does actually feature in the film.
And I thought it was Ministry for a long time, actually.
I couldn't blame you for making that mistake because it's very Ministry like.
Yeah.
Michael. So this is one of the live bands at Top Dollar's club. These are the guys that are playing during the sequence where Eric busts in to get Skank.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not Skank. Skank dead.
Anything to say on this one, Michael?
Other than it fits well.
Yeah, for me, this is another one of my favorite songs on the record. It does live rent free in my head a lot. So
they're just casually having a concert while Eric's just fighting every person known to mankind.
All the bad guys upstairs. Yep. The scene during which it plays is hands down the biggest action scene in the film. It's just a good dirty industrial rocker. Trent Reznor would have loved this.
Oh it absolutely fits.
Yeah.
It does its job.
Yeah, it goes hard. It just goes really hard. Yeah. and I do have to say, since we were mentioning Skank and Skank being dead, Skank is one of my favorite characters in the film. His portrayal in the film is brilliant. I absolutely love the scene where he's explaining to Top Dollar what happened to T-Bird, and Top Dollar's sitting over there smirking, trying to keep from laughing and stuff, and his comment about maybe we should record this and play it backwards in slow motion.
T-Bird, here to you, buddy.
Yes.
Yeah, he's the most quotable character in the movie other than Eric.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, moving on to the next song. This is track 12. This is the Jesus and Mary Chain with Snake Driver. Go ahead and take it, Zach.
This is one of those bands that was kind of in my periphery when they were super famous, and I never really listened to a lot. But what I really liked about this song, and this is a weird thing, but this song is like, if you've never heard it before, I'm gonna describe it to you as what if Kurt Cobain was in the Beach Boys,
Wow.
and I really dig it. If I'm being honest.
I am so lost.
That's because you don't know Nirvana yet, or the Beach Boys.
Do you know the Beach Boys? Yeah, I was gonna say. I want you to hear both of those things and then imagine a Dragon Ball Z fusion dance of the Beach Boys and Kurt Cobain.
That's amazing. I've never thought to describe it that way, but yeah, that's amazing. Michael, this is the song that is playing when Sarah first walks into the bar and sees Darla making out with Fun Boy. When she kind of walks up to her mom, and her mom kind of tosses some money at her and telling her to go get something to eat, and Sarah kind of makes a smart aleck remark about how the police fed her already and stuff. You know the scene I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you think of this song?
I think if I go by memory, I think I like this song instrumental wise.
You like the music?
Yeah.
Yep, it's a pretty good song. I do feel like the lyrical theme fits in well with the particular moment in the film that it plays in, a good stoner rock song.
Oh yeah.
Yep, I dig this one. This one's high on the list of my songs or favorite songs from the soundtrack for sure. I really don't have a whole lot to say about it. I personally was never a real big Jesus and Mary Chain fan, but
Yeah,
I do like this song. Good tune. I guess this would be a good opportunity real quick to take a sidetrack here and talk a bit about the differences with the Sarah character between the comic book and the film, and some of the heart-wrenching stuff that happens with Sarah. The Sarah in the comic book, she's almost portrayed as being homeless. And she's in a really sad situation, and she encounters Eric the first time he's walking down the street, and she's sitting on some steps, and she clearly tells she's being abused. She's been beaten up, and he kind of sits down next to her and has a brief talk, and she says something about asks him if this is hell, and he goes, no, but you can see it from here. And that just, it plays on my heartstrings.
Oh, wow.
And I don't feel like I do feel a bit of heartbreak from Sarah in the film, but I don't think it goes as deep as it did in the comic book. At least not for me. And her in the comic book, the genuine love and enthusiasm and thankfulness that she has when Eric gives her the ring. It's a beautiful moment, and it makes me cry every time I read it. That doesn't really it happens in the film, and it's still a beautiful moment in the film and stuff, but I feel like the comic book, it hits harder.
Yeah, Sarah is used very differently between the film and the comic book, because she isn't as central in the comic as she is in the film. Like, they used her to a very different extent, but they both hit in very different ways. And because Obar he was using her for less time and had to make it punch, like make the punch land, as quickly as he could. And it does. You're absolutely right. It's the stuff that you get with her in the comic is absolutely heart-wrenching. But I do love Sarah in the movie too.
Yep.
But it's very different. Very different.
Yep, very different portrayals. Moving on to track 13. This is Medicine with Time Baby 3. Michael, this is the other band that makes an appearance in the film. Zach, I'll let you go ahead and take it away here.
Did you know, I just found this out today, but the singer of the band Medicine was an original member of the Bengals.
No kidding. I didn't know that.
Oh?
Yeah, of the band the Bangles, like that they were like walk like an
Yeah.
Egyptian, right? That was them. Yeah, she was one of the original members of that band. I just learned that today when I
Cool.
was looking this stuff.
Cool.
But I love this song. It's kind of trippy, sleepy performance,
Uh-huh.
you know, like the warbling guitars and like the dulcet vocals. I've always really liked this song. So when like it's one of those things like whenever it comes up in the movie, I'm really happy that that scene is happening
Yeah.
because I like the song. And yeah, it's a good one.
Michael?
I do agree with you, Zach, on the instruments part, and I think that's really all I have to say, other than it fits well.
Yeah, so I thought this was an interesting choice for this song to take place in the wake of Top Dollar and his sister killing a girl. uh,
Yeah.
It's I do like this song quite a bit. It's, I guess, for the context of where it takes place in the film, it's kind of strange and
Yeah.
but it kind of works in a kind of a weird chilling way.
Yeah, because it's like it's when you start to see his sister like using kind of mysticism and like with the eyes and like so it kind of fits that weird like the weirdness of the relationship of those two, where they're like step siblings but they're also like real into each other.
Yeah.
Like Lannister level into each other.
100%.
One to Alabama.
Yeah.
All right, so that leaves us with just the final track on the record. This is from Jane Sidbury, and this is "It Can't Rain All the Time." Zach, I'll let you take it.
As far as like the way the soundtrack is put together, I think this is the perfect way to end the soundtrack. It's this beautiful, soothing song using one of the most important lines of the movie, you know, and also just like really just a generally good message for anyone, really, you know, like it can't rain all the time. The last, like, I really liked the way that this soundtrack goes out because it's like the last two tracks are like really act as like a cool down after a lot of exercise. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think that was a really great idea because we come in hot with Burn. I didn't do that on purpose, but we come in hot with Burn, and yeah, but we close like really quietly, you know, like we start to mellow out with Time Baby 3, and then It Can't Rain All the Time is just this really nice, like chill song to end everything out.
Michael?
It's like to describe the last song is it's a smooth song. It's just laid out perfectly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so like an orchestral version of this song is used in several spots during the film. And of course, the title of the song comes from a line that Eric uses talking to Sarah. It can't rain all the time. It represents a shift in the tone of the film as Eric's job is completed, and he's trying to put himself to rest again. And Shelley's spirit is coming to him, and it's this really beautiful love ballad. In an outstanding way to close out the soundtrack.
Yeah, this was needed on this soundtrack. It was needed in the soundtrack because there's like we finally get that beautiful moment at the end, you know, after all of the violence where Eric is ready to go and Shelley appears to him, like you said, and it is like a nice moment where the two of them are finally together again after the horrificness of the way they were separated. And so you needed a song like this to pair with that.
It's such a beautiful moment, and I don't mind admitting that I tear up at that scene where Shelley appears to him again and kind of caresses his face for a moment and stuff like that. It is such a beautifully done scene. Gets me every time.
Absolutely.
And I think I would be remiss, even though this is the last song on the soundtrack, I would be remiss without mentioning the beautiful score done by, I think he's pronounced Graham Revell. It's such a beautiful score. He does an amazing job of filling in the spots where they're not using the hard rock soundtracks and stuff like that. The orchestral arrangements are gorgeous for this film.
I completely agree. Yeah. Like the actual like score for the movie is amazing. And that has always been something that's irritated me that it's not on the
Right?
soundtrack. I hate that.
Yeah, I actually ended up going out and buying the score because the score was a separate album and stuff, and I love the score. I think I listened to it just as much as I listened to the soundtrack.
I don't think I realized that you could buy just the score to The
Yep,
Crow.
you sure can.
Now damn it. Now I gotta go do that.
So interesting to note. And one of the songs from The Crow ends up getting reused in another film. It gets reused in the film Kingdom of Heaven. There is. Have you seen that film before, Zach?
Is that Kingdom of Heaven? Is that a movie about the Crusades? Or am I
Yes.
thinking of a different?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. With Orlando
Yes,
Bloom?
correct.
Yes.
So
yeah.
there is the piece of music that plays when Eric is seen when he dives off the building and lands in the trash and then starts walking towards Tintin. That piece of music
Mhm.
gets reused in Kingdom of Heaven when Orlando Bloom is he's hanging out on his property leaning up against a tree, and the Templars come for him to attack him to try to kill him, and they reuse that song for that sequence. And every time I hear it, I'm like, I know that one. I know that one.
That's interesting. I was not aware of that. I did not catch that when I saw Kingdom of Heaven.
Just one of those weird facts. But yeah, like I said, it would be totally remiss to not mention the score. It's beautifully done. One of my favorite film scores ever.
I like when the scenes where they use it where they do that thing where they stop the film and they just have still images. You know, they do that a couple times throughout the movie where like the motion just stops, but the score plays.
Yeah.
And then they move to a different scene. I like when they do that stuff.
I think
So film school.
I think my favorite piece from the score is the and it's probably the I Can't Rain All the Time piece, but it's the one piece that they play when Sarah is up in the apartment trying to talk to Eric, and Eric won't appear to her, and she finally says, "To hell with you. I thought you cared." And it swells there, and Eric appears. The light shines, and Eric appears in the light there and stuff. I love that piece of music. It is so gorgeous, and it's so well done. It's another super emotional moment from the film.
That the music 100% helps fulfill
absolutely. One of those scenes that lives rent free in your head.
Well, totally. And it harkens back to that when he tells her it can't rain all the time.
Yeah.
And that's the moment when he appears to her is when the rain stops and the sun shines through for a second.
Yes. Such a beautiful moment.
Yeah.
All right. So we've finished up our discussion on the soundtrack here, and now we're going to get into our overall album ratings. Zach, I'm going to let you give your rating first. We give a score out of 5.
Okay. I mean, you know, as we were going through this, there were a couple hiccups for me that I was honest with, you know, like I love the Rage song. Don't feel like it fits, and I wasn't really big on the Thrill Kill Cult, but still, you're always going to have albums that have amazing stuff that you don't fit. Like not every song is going to hit for you, but I still recognize that this is a brilliantly put together soundtrack, and it does everything that it is supposed to do. You know what I mean? Like the job was successful. Like the people that put this soundtrack together did a great job. The bands did great music. I'm gonna give it 4 and like I'm gonna give it 4.75 stars for me, because I have to take the 0.25 away just because there was one that I didn't think needed to be there, and one that was just kind of weird for me, even though I thought it fit for the scene.
It's like the Olympic
like,
judge.
just yeah, yeah, like I'll get 4.75 because I could listen to the soundtrack all day, and I did today. I listened to it all day. So yeah, totally
Awesome. Michael, how about you?
I think overall this is a good soundtrack. Like Zach said, there is some filler, but I'm gonna have to give it a 4.9.
4.9?
Yeah.
All right.
oh snap.
Yeah, for me, this is one of those seminal records from my teenage years. I listened to this so much. I wore it out. I
Heck yeah.
absolutely love the soundtrack. It's gonna forever be one of those things that just I always come back to like an old friend. And for my love of the film, for my love of the comic book and stuff like that, it's just I can't not give this a great score. I am gonna also give this a 4.75, Zach, and only just because I'm deducting points for the weird Rage Against the Machine song. But aside from that, it's almost perfect. Almost.
It really is. It's so close. And I mean, even like if you just had like the first 4 songs, it's a hit.
Yeah.
Like the first 4 songs on this soundtrack alone are worth buying the $16.99 CD at the wall or FYE when I was 15.
Yeah.
You know, like it was, yeah.
Absolutely.
Seriously.
Absolutely. The first 4 songs could have just been an EP by themselves.
Heck yeah.
All right. So with that said, our question for the audience for this episode is, what is your favorite track on the Crow soundtrack and why? Zach, you want to field this one and give us an answer?
Ooh, that's hard because they're like, man. Ooh, I mean, like that is a day-to-day thing for me because I mean, if I was pressed, like if I have to pick one right now, I'm gonna have to go with Burn.
Yeah.
And again, which is funny because, like I said, I am not a Cure guy, but this song, it's just such a good song, and I love the scene that it plays in. And like I hear the song and I see the scene, and I can't see them. I can't not see the scene, and it just hits. It just hits. Like this song tells you exactly what it is there for. You know what I mean?
You're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. There's no separating the film from this song. That scene and that song belong together.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Agreed.
Yep.
It's on my, I'll put it this way. That song is on my exercise playlist. I have a World War Zach playlist on Spotify.
Heck yeah.
And it is part of it.
Heck yeah. All right. Well, Zach, I'm not going to let you go without giving you a chance to shill your wares. Go right ahead and tell the people where they can find you.
Well, thank you very much. And thanks for having me on the show. It was fun getting to talk the Crow. It's always fun getting to talk the Crow. And I do a show called The Comics That We Love. It is a show where I sit down with a different guest each week to talk about a comic book that they love, or maybe I introduce them to a new book that I think would vibe with them really well. I like to do that sometimes. Sometimes I do episodes where I list the stuff that I've been reading and tell you what I think about it. Sometimes I deep dive into characters. I love comic books. I've loved them my whole life. I like to gush about them. 9.5%, like 9.5 times out of 10, I keep it extremely positive because I just want to celebrate the comic book medium. And like I love getting to find new books. I love when people bring me something I've never read. Like you just did an episode with me about Why the Last Man, which is a book that has been like in my queue for nigh on a decade or more. And that's a great thing about this show. It gives me an excuse to finally get to read the stuff that I want to read. And there's so many great comics out there, and that's really why I do the show. I just want everyone to love comics, and I want to help people find cool new books. And I also love to talk about the people who made those books, because I think that's really important to, like give the artists their due and the writers their due, and tell you what else they've done so that you can check it out. So yeah, the comics that we love, it's a labor of love.
Zach, thank you very, very much for coming on the show. Where can they find the comics that we love?
The comics that we love is on anywhere that you can get podcasts. I made sure of it. And you can hit me on Instagram at the comics that we love. I'm on Twitter at @Z_Irish_red. I'm on Blue Sky at the comics that we love. Yeah, like most of the places that I am, it's the comics that we love. And if you want to throw me an email and give me suggestions for books, comicsthatwelove@gmail.com.
Zach, real quick, I also want to give you a chance to talk about the fundraiser that you were running for your brother-in-law. Is that still going?
Oh, it's just kind of ongoing. It's gonna be there until, it's just there. But yeah, I have a GoFundMe. So this is a long and drawn out thing. I'll try to do it quick. My wife moved here from Vietnam in March. We met through family a couple years ago. She moved here to be with me, and we got married. And literally a few days after she got here, she found out that her brother had brain cancer, that he had tumors, and like that it was really bad. And so like her family helped a lot to get her here. And now that they did that, they don't have the money to help her brother. And so I didn't know what to do, and I thought the best thing that I could do was use my platform to have a GoFundMe and see if we could raise at least a little money to help with like different therapies that they're trying and doctor's appointments and stuff like that over in Vietnam. So yeah, I have it. It's linked on my Instagram at the comics that we love, and I also have it pinned on Twitter at @Z_Irish_red. And thank you for letting me bring that up. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're absolutely welcome. And I do encourage, if you have a few extra bucks laying around, please send them Zach's way. This is a worthy cause.
Yeah, it's very appreciated.
Yeah, no problem at all. So again, Zach, thank you very much for coming on the show and discussing The Crow with us. We will definitely have to have you on again, sir.
I'll come back whenever, man. This was fun. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all.
All right, and for our next segment, this is called Can't Wait. This is the new music we're looking forward to that's coming soon. Michael, what's on your radar?
All right. Of course, the Opeth record, and the.
Are you thinking about the record from Paradise Slaves?
Yeah. Yeah, I think
The new one that's got the singer from 36 Crazy
Yeah.
Fists?
Yeah.
Paradise Slaves.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
Nope.
Yeah, so there's not really a whole lot on my radar for the next couple of weeks. However, I did see an announcement from Brian Fair, the vocalist of Shadows Fall. He recently announced that Shadows Fall will be releasing its first new song since 2012 this December, and I am super stoked about this. I can't wait. Shadows Fall was one of my absolute favorite metalcore bands from the early days of metalcore. Them, Killswitch Engage, 36 Crazy Fists, amazing bands. My absolute favorites from the time period. Shadows Fall took a hiatus. They haven't really been doing much, although they did do some reunion shows, I believe, either earlier this year or last year. So I'm super excited to hear that they're recording new music, man. I'm really looking forward to it. Any other final thoughts before we move on?
No.
Okay, so moving on to our listener feedback segment. And we do have some listener feedback. So, our first piece of feedback came via Facebook. Comes from Marjorie Metzger regarding episode 6's What Have You Been Listening to This Week? She says, the mention of Daughtry perked my ears. Have not heard his name in a while. I was a fan of his in that era of American Idol. I've not watched in quite some time, but remember that's where I first saw him. Here's something interesting. I saw him at the grandstand of the Indiana State Fair, one of the few date nights for Mark and I. Mark pointed him out as the band was scurrying around setting up. I Googled it to see what year that was, and AI popped up saying he never played there. Don't trust AI. I knew it wasn't correct because I was there. Scrolled down under the mistaken AI response, and he did in fact play there on August 9th, 2008. The next piece, in response to episode 7's question for the audience, which was, what is your favorite song from Tool's Anima? Minefield_music on Threads says, fantastic album. My current favorite is Jimmy. Can't go wrong with that song, can you, Michael?
Nope.
We also received our first 5-star review on Spotify, Michael.
Hooray!
Yeah, unfortunately, Spotify doesn't show you who left the review, and it doesn't actually let you write up a verbal review. You can just rate it out of 5 stars, and they gave us a perfect score, whoever it was. So thank you very much to whoever gave us the 5-star rating. We really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to mention that we're compiling our top 5 best records of the year lists in preparation for what will be our final show of this year. And we'd like to hear from you on what your top rock and metal releases of 2024 were. Get your responses to us by December 11th, and we'll read your responses on the air. And lastly, we do want to hear from you. Please keep your responses and feedback coming to us. We enjoy reading them over, and we will definitely read them on the air. Michael, anything else?
Nope.
All right. So, moving right along into our final segment. This one is Michael's journey, discovering a song from the past. And in this episode, we are getting Michael's thoughts on the absolute Halloween classic that is Monster Mash by Bobby Boris Pickett. A little bit of background on this song real quick. This song was released on August 25th, 1962. It's a novelty song that's by Bobby Boris Pickett. The song was released as a single on Gary S. Paxton's Garpax Records label in August of 62, along with a full-length LP called The Original Monster Mash, which contained several other monster-themed tunes. The Monster Mash single was number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart on October 20th through 27th of 1962, just before Halloween. Pretty impressive.
That's wild.
Monster Mash has continued to see some lasting impact. In 2021, nearly 60 years after its original release, it re-entered the Billboard Hot 100 chart at number 37. And as of 2023, the song was generating $1 million annually in royalties. Pretty crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. So, Michael, what do you got on the Monster Mash? What'd you think?
I think all of like the music part of the song with the bubbling at the start, and the vocals and lyrics are amazing. It fits so well with the theme of the song. It's silly.
So yeah, Bobby Pickett is actually putting on his best imitation of Boris Karloff. Do you know who Boris Karloff is, Michael?
No.
Okay. So Boris Karloff starred in a lot of the old Universal monster movies. He was played the Mummy. He also played Frankenstein's monster. But something you might really know him from is he was the voice of the Grinch in the original Grinch cartoon, the Grinch Who Stole Christmas.
Did not know that.
Yeah. So that's who he's imitating on this song. And it's just a fun little, novelty song dealing with the idea of zombies and monsters doing this dance that they created. It's awesome to think about. It's funny to think about. I used to listen to this song all the time when I was a kid. Used to look forward to Halloween when they would play this on the radio. Such a fun song.
I'm so tempted to sing one of the lyrics.
Go ahead.
He did the
Monster Mash. Yeah. Great song. I figured you'd enjoy this one. Michael, give us your final thoughts and give us your rating out of 5.
Great song, still stands up today. 5 out of 5.
5 out of 5 for Michael on the Monster Mash. I'm glad you enjoyed this one. I think you said you had heard it before.
Yeah.
But it's always worth going back and revisiting. Such a fun song.
Especially during Halloween time.
100%. The song is kind of done in a doo-wop style. I think it's almost kind of making fun of a song called, or a dance called The Mashed Potato. You ever heard of that?
No.
I can't do it, so don't ask me to do it for you.
Do it.
No chance. I got 2 left feet. This guy can't dance. Well, let me take that back. I can dance. I refuse.
Even at gunpoint.
Maybe. I do suck it up and dance with your mom in certain situations, like if we go to a wedding or something like that. But outside of that, this guy doesn't dance. I'll do one slow dance with your mom. So up next on your journey, Michael, you are going to get to hear for the first time a song from the outstanding, the amazing, the legendary Diana Ross. And you're going to hear her song, Stop in the Name of Love. Have you ever heard this one before?
I don't think so.
Awesome. Looking forward to getting your thoughts on that. And for our main topic on our next episode, I was originally going to go in a different direction. Originally, we were going to cover a record from Queen. But after having heard the new release from Devin Townsend titled Power Nerd and kind of the effect that it had on me, I think this would be an enjoyable breakdown for the two of us. So we're pivoting. We're going to cover the brand new release from Devin Townsend, Power Nerd, for our next episode. What do you think, Michael?
I think I may enjoy it.
Looking forward to getting your thoughts on it.
Yep.
All right. And with that said, we want to hear from you. We will read your emails and messages on the show. We have only one request. Keep them clean. There are several ways to contact us. You can email us at lightmovepod@gmail.com. You can also reach us on several social media platforms such as Facebook, X, Blue Sky, Instagram, and Threads. Details on how to connect with us are in the show notes.
If you liked the show, subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting platform and share with your friends and family. We are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and a variety of other platforms. We are also now on YouTube. Can't find us on your chosen platform? Shoot us a message and let us know. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. This helps us to be found on the algorithm. Make them good and we'll read them on the air. Are you in a band you'd like for us to check you out? and possibly drop a recommendation on the show, shoot us a message. We'd love to check you out and give you a shout.
We'd like to thank you very much for listening to the Leitmotif and Movement podcast. Take care and enjoy music.